If you're watching this on YouTube and you have a question, comment, suggestion, or maybe you just want to find out more information about the product, you can find the link below. Hello again, I'm Rodney Reynolds from 3GameMan.com and welcome to another video review. Today I'm looking at the GMC H200 Phoong 5 case. This is a very basic looking box. It does have a couple of pictures of the product on it though, one on this side and another one on the other side. Some basic information about it, but if you are picking this up in store, the box is not going to be that helpful. That's not a big deal these days though, because a lot of people buy their computer components online. It's packaged very well between two pieces of quality styrofoam, and the case itself is in a plastic bag. They have protective plastic on the left side panel window, so let me remove that. This case is mainly comprised of steel, but you have lots of plastic on it. The top panel is plastic, the front panel is plastic, but as well, plenty of mesh for ventilation. Now this might look like a full tower case, but in fact it is not. It's a mid-tower case, but a big one at that. This case is probably 20% bigger than most other mid-sized tower cases that are on the market. The overall look and styling on this case I think is quite nice. Lots of rounded corners. At the top is the power button, which by the way doubles as a power LED, and there are a couple of hard drive activity LEDs as well. 4 USB ports, 2 of them are USB 2 and the other 2 are USB 3. 2 audio jacks, one is for the headset and the other the mic. The reset button is in the middle, and they have 2 fan speed controllers. The one on the left is for the front fans. Just twist it, and the one on the right is for the top fans. They have these little rubber plugs in all of the USB ports, and of course that's to keep the dust out of them, also to protect them. To remove these plugs, just pull like so, and they come out super easily. Now this is an area to install either a 2.5 inch or 3.5 inch drive. They have the data and power connectors covered with this little rubber cap here. I'll remove that and show you how to install a drive. So to install a 3.5 inch, just take that cap off and then just simply push the drive in. Make sure the data and power connections are made, and that's it. And the same goes for a 2.5 inch drive. And if you're not installing a drive, then you can just use this to put things. Now the ventilation part here can actually be removed by just pulling here. It comes right out like so you've got access to the fans. And by the way, there are 2 120mm exhaust fans included. As well, you can remove this entire top panel, if need be, by taking off a single thumb screw at the back. You have to be careful though, because of all the connections at the front. It just kind of slides back and then you can take it right off. At the front, you can fit 3 5.25 inch drive bays, and as you can see, these drive bay covers are mesh and they double as dust filters. To remove them, there's a little latch on the left side. Just pull in and it comes right off. Install the drive, and that's it. Super easy. Not a lot of branding on this case except for their logo right here. Additional mesh here to provide fantastic ventilation for the 2 included 120mm blue LED intake fans. Now the front panel can be easily removed by pulling at the bottom, and note that they do include a removable dust filter. You do not need to take off the front panel to remove this. It pulls from the bottom, so you can pull it out from the bottom and then clean it and put it right back into place. So just pull and it comes right out. The color theme for this case is blue. They include blue LED fans, a blue power button, and blue hard drive activity LEDs, and these are actually the 2 hard drive activity LEDs, and they shine down into this little piece at the top. The left side panel comes with a large smoked window, and the right side panel has this punch out to provide more space behind the motherboard tray. At the back of the case, there are 4 rubber grommeted holes, 2 at the top and another 2 here, and of course those are for routing cables and or water cooling tubes through. Now speaking of water cooling, this case does give you a number of radiator options, but they're all along the lines of 120mm. There is a 120mm exhaust fan included at the back along with this grill, and of course you could take that out if you wanted to and put, you know, a 120 ALC back here or a 120 radiator. Also at the bottom you've got a 120 option, and at the top you can do the same thing, or you can go with a 240mm radiator. Here's where you would install the motherboard's I/O shield plate. They include 7 expansion slots, but note some of them are actually covered up with this booster. It's just basically a fan that they have mounted here, and of course you can remove this this by taking off 2 screws on either side. As well, extra ventilation, and at the bottom is where a standard ATX power supply gets installed. They have a grab point here as well for the bottom fan filter, and there are 4 thumb screws, 2 on each side panel. Inside the case they have this box and in it a number of items: the user's manual, an 8-pin extension cable, a couple of bags that has screws in it, and a speaker. Here are the expansion slots and lots of plastic cable ties. Now, as you can see, there's plenty of room to work on the inside of this case due to the fact that the case is quite long. Again, this is not a full tower case, a mid-tower case that has a ton of space. Note the motherboard tray, which by the way is not removable, but it does have lots of cable management holes on it and a large hole for the cooler's retention plate. Actually, an enormous hole for the cooler's retention plate. And by the way, there is lots of space behind the motherboard tray and the right side panel. There's a tool list designed for installing drives in the 5¼ inch drive base, and the same goes for installing 3½ inch drives. But when you're installing 2½ inch drives, you'll need to use the included screws. You can fit up to 7 2½ inch or 7 3½ inch drives in these drive bays. And remember, of course, you can install another 3½ inch or 2½ inch drive at the top of the case. In order to install a 2½ inch or 3½ inch drive, just pinch on either side to remove the drive cage. To install a 3½ inch drive, just twist it, place the drive in, and that's it. But to install a 2½ inch drive, use the 4 included screws, and once the drive is secure, just pop it back into place. Video card length in this case is around 330 millimeters because you need an extra couple of centimeters here at the end for the connectors. You could go, I guess, to 340 if you wanted to, but you'd be cutting it close, depending, of course, on the video card and where the connectors for the video card actually are. Keep in mind that this hard drive cage is not removable. Power supply length would be the same unless you have the optional 120 millimeter fan installed. As well, they include 4 rubber rests for the power supply to lodge on. And cooler height is approximately 160 millimeters. At the bottom, they have 4 rubber strips on these 40 millimeter tall feet. And I love the fact that these are tall because it will allow the bottom fan or fans to intake lots of cool air. And as I mentioned earlier, they have a removable dust filter at the back for the power supply's intake fan, but another removable filter here. That's for the optional fan. Very easy to take it out and put it back. With the right side panel removed, have a look behind the motherboard tray. Again, you can see all of the cable management holes, as well as this large hole for the cooler's retention plate and punch outs as well to attach the cables to. Finally, have a listen to the fans. Now this is without the top and front fans on, just the back fans. Now let me turn the front and top fans on, first at the minimum speed, and I'll increase them to max. This is a great case that's loaded with excellent features, like, for example, plenty of fans included, lots of places to install drives. There is an enormous amount of space on the inside, considering that this is a mid-tower case, water cooling options, and on it goes. Overall, this is a kick-ass product. Until next time, take care. How do you think this product stacks up? To vote, head on over to 3dgameman.com, and while you're there, check out the pricing.